Good afternoon. Cheers to spring. Today I was supposed to be giving a presentation and doing a demo to a garden club in Seattle. Got canceled, so I'm just going to do it anyway. Welcome. Happy spring. Today we're going to be making an arrangement in this lovely Oh Flora compote from Australia. It has a pedestal. It's also called a footed vase. We're going to use this evergreen huckleberry that's not quite in bloom from my neighbor. This is some jasmine vine. And here's what I have from my garden. Germander, Japanese ilex, hyacinth, and hellebore, and some flowering currant. From the wholesaler, I'd already had these on order. I have these gorgeous Vuvuzela garden roses, my favorite butterfly ranunculus, some tulips, regular ranunculus, maidenhair fern, viburnum, and I had a little leftover anemone. I'm going to pop that in. Sometimes I like something a little funky to offset the color palette that I've chosen, which is pinks, peachy, and spring green. To start, you're going to need some sort of mechanic in your vase, whether you roll up some flexible branches like curly willow, or you could do a tape grid across the top of the vase to hold your stems securely, or I like to use chicken wire. So take a piece that's maybe 2 times your vase, just kind of scrunch it up. It's a little hard on the hands, but you'll get used to it. You want to have some in the bottom as well, so the stems can go just not through the top, but sit in something on the bottom. And then I have some tape cut here. You should have the green waterproof tape, but I just make do with what I can find. At the moment, it's this clear tape, floral tape. So that's what I'm going to use. Very important about your chicken wire. Use wire cutters, not your fancy scissors. Okay, so to get started, we're going to what we call green up this vessel. So I'm going to start with, I have some ilex that I grow and I don't cut. And remember, you don't want to have any foliage in your vase. And I like to just go around the vase at different angles, pop it in. You might want some coming down, some going up. I also have some camellia, and whenever you put anything in, always have a fresh cut at the bottom. And ideally, you would have conditioned all of these flowers, whether you cut them from your own garden, so that they drink at least 6 hours, but the best is to cut them in the morning or in the evening when they have the highest water content, and then let them sit for a day in fresh, cool water out of the sun. You can see I'm greening up, and I added some nandina that was just cut. I have maidenhair fern, the Japanese ilex, the huckleberry, some jasmine vine, and some camellia. So I like different textures, and I like soft things sometimes. The huckleberry is not soft, but it has an interesting texture. So next we're going to start on the focal flower. So I will just discuss that for a minute. This is a line flower because it looks like a line. This is a focal because your eye is drawn to it. That is a coral charm peony, and this is larkspur. I also have these ranunculus that could be a secondary focal, or these gorgeous garden roses. I don't know if you can see that. And my supporting flowers will be my hellebore, Helleborus orientalis, I believe. And then I have this really cool one. I have to get the name of it, which I will. I love this hellebore. Isn't that fun? I usually start with my line flowers once I've have it greened up. I don't know why, it's just what I do. So I'm gonna kind of, remember, you wanna go at angles. And if anything's too tall, don't cut it too short. If it's too tall, you can cut. So I'm going to work on my line with my line flowers. So I kind of like asymmetrical myself. So I'm just gonna pop these in, kind of one low, one high angle. Oh, and then I think I'll start with my focal. A lot of times you can use peony foliage for green. And I want these focals to be a little bit low, tucked in as far as weight and mass. And I really love these that are really blown open. You don't want anything to be static. You want it to look like it has movement. I hope everybody's doing well on this spring day. I know everything's a little bit topsy-turvy in the world, to put it mildly, but I think it's more important than ever to do things that make you happy, if you can, to stay just for a little sanity. The idea with flower arranging, I think, is to let every flower have its moment. So you don't want to crowd things. I have a tendency to overfill because I have a garden and I like to use my flowers in my garden. And I might be guilty of seeing a spot and saying, oh, it needs a flower. But there's a principle, just like in all art, is negative space. So if you allow space in your arrangement, you will actually see the flowers that you want to see more so. You can start to see that this is taking shape. I'm going to fill in around the bottom with some viburnum. I like that color, that springy green that looks like spring to me.